Hello, everyone. You are all very welcome to our webinar today. Just take a moment here to let our virtual room fill up. All right, let's get started. My name is Sarah West, and I am the Deputy Executive Director here at the Fulbright Commission in Ireland. And I'd like to extend a warm welcome to our wonderful panelists today, Robert Conway-Kenny, who's joining us as an alum from the 2022-2023 program. You'll hear from him later today. And to start off, I'm going to be kicking off with an overview of the Fulbright program and our work here at the Commission, and talking you through all the opportunities that are available to you if you're curious about opportunities in the science, technology, and engineering sectors. We'll finish up with a Q&A at the end. So as we go along, you're welcome to pop your questions in the Q&A function through Zoom here. So what exactly is the Fulbright program? A quick overview. The program was started back in 1946. And at that time, Ireland had not been in the program, but joined in 1957. The Fulbright program was set up in the aftermath of World War II. With a goal of fostering mutual respect and understanding among nations in the wake of that World War. Ireland is one of 49 countries that operates a commission, which is a bilateral agreement between both the Irish and the US government. And the rest of the Fulbright programs in 165 countries around the world operate out of US embassies. And the commission here, the full title is the Ireland United States Commission for Educational Exchange. So in addition to the Fulbright program, we also provide services on the behalf of the US Department of State through our Education USA advising. And that's to give supports to undergraduates and postgraduates from Ireland who may be interested in studying in the United States. But focusing back on Fulbright, which is the reason you're all here today, Fulbright awards are for students, scholars, teachers, artists, and professionals from across all disciplines to either study, teach, or lecture in the United States. The awards themselves provide a monetary grant. We here at the Commission support the J-1 visa administration process in partnership with the US Embassy. And you're also covered with a health benefit through the exchange program. And more specifically, what makes Fulbright so unique is that it is a cultural exchange program. It's not just about what you're doing in the lab or in the classroom, but truly what you can bring from Ireland to the United States and what you may bring back from the US to Ireland. And once you become a Fulbright awardee and go on to become a Fulbright alum, you then are part of what we call the Fulbright family, which is a very rich and vibrant network of ongoing Fulbright connections and work both here in Ireland and in the US. And we hear a lot of times from our alum that it is an experience of a lifetime. Not only does it come with the prestige of the Fulbright program and its name, but the connection among peers around the globe, not only from the program in Ireland, but from the Fulbright program operating in over 165 countries. Here you can see a few photographs of our alumni. So when you're on campus or at an institution, you may be bumping into other Fulbrighters from around the world. And really, we do care about the people who are applying and what they can offer, both through their academic or professional work, their research, their study, but also as members of the community, cultural ambassadors. So into the technical bit of the application process, not going to dive in too technically. We have an upcoming webinar about the application Q&A, so you can join us then. But just to give you an overview, the Irish Awards are open to anyone who has an Irish passport or EU and UK citizens with 5 years plus residency in the Republic of Ireland. To be eligible for a Fulbright Award, you have to demonstrate a strong rationale for why specifically you need to go to the US. This is an exchange between the US and countries around the world. So you need to make your case for why the US and why Fulbright in particular is the right grant for you, because this is again about cultural ambassadorship, that element of diplomacy and creating mutual understanding among nations. There is a 2-year home rule as part of the J-1 visa process. That doesn't mean that you can't travel to the US in the future on an ESTA. However, that does mean that you'll have to come back to Ireland to complete 2 years for the J-1 visa requirement. Also, you cannot be a US-Irish dual citizen to apply for an Irish award, and you cannot be living in the US at the time of application. As well, you cannot have recent extensive experience in the US studying or living there. And if you have any questions about your eligibility, you can of course reach out to us here at the Commission at awards@fulbright.ie. I'll share that as well in the chat. And in terms of the timeline, it's fabulous that you're here watching this webinar. That is an excellent first step. Our applications will close on the 31st of October, the end of this month. Once the application's closed, they are then reviewed by experts in your discipline, and then they're shortlisted. So we will then select candidates for interview. And then following the interview process, offers are then made around March time. And in terms of your plan, you're here through hopefully this webinar and researching our website and talking to Fulbrighters, you'll be able to identify which award you want to apply to. You can apply to one award per cycle. You'll then be preparing your research course proposal and researching really, again, what it means to be a Fulbrighter and why this grant is right for you, making your application and submitting that through the online portal. And in terms of what types of awards are available, they fall generally into these categories. We have our Irish Student Awards, which are at the postgraduate level to pursue a master's or part of your PhD research. We also have our Scholar Awards that are at the post-PhD level, where you could also be a professional with 5 to 7 years experience. You may not necessarily need to have a PhD, and you can go to lecture as well. And our Tech Impact Awards are very unique to Ireland, and they're for a shorter amount of time, from anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 months, to travel to the US to complete a project with an ICT, information communication technology focus. And it may be that you need a certain type of technology that the US has to offer you, or that you're bringing something specifically there. It could be across any discipline with an a technology flavor. We also have our Irish Foreign Language Teaching Assistantship programs, which is to go and teach Irish in the US. And the Schumann Awards are run by our colleagues at the Belgian Commission, and they have a different deadline. I will go through that briefly, but today we're really here to focus on opportunities for those in the STEM sector. Again, so we have our scholars and our all disciplines categories. You can read through here on the slide in more detail. Scholar Awards are typically from 3 months to 12 months in duration, and the amount of funding is set on a monthly rate that then is multiplied by the amount of months your project may be for. And as well, the student program is from 4 months to 12 months for degree-seeking students or researchers. And again, why we're here today is to focus on opportunities for those in the STEM sector. So diving into our sponsored awards, our fabulous partners here, we're going to focus in on those with climate, science. The sponsored awards really are an excellent opportunity as the all disciplines category, which you can apply to create your own custom project or course options. That's great. They're also very competitive, which is why we really do encourage people to apply for the sponsored awards that are made in partnership with these great institutions. On the online application form, there is a sponsored award form where you explain your rationale for why this sponsored opportunity would be right for you. We recommend looking into the sponsors to see what is it about their strategy that might link in with your project, what do they need that you can offer. And looking into the awards on offer for this 25-26 cycle, at the student award level, we have our Fulbright Environmental Protection Agency EPA Award, the associated award with Florida Polytechnic University, the Fulbright GSI, Geological Survey Ireland Award, the Fulbright Chagas Award, the associated award with the University of Southern California. And as I mentioned, you can of course still apply through the all disciplines. And at the scholar level, we also have the Fulbright EPA Award, the GSI Award, Chagas, the NUI Scholar Award for NUI graduates, and as I mentioned, the Fulbright Tech Impact Award. And this webinar will be recorded so you can review these. They are also on our website where you can read through the descriptions of each award to find out if they're right for you. Here's a little overview of the Tech Impact Scholar Award. As I mentioned, this could be for you if you have a technological twist to your project. Maybe you're bringing the technology, maybe you need the technology. This is for professionals, folks who have 5 to 7 years experience, or those with PhDs as well are eligible for 2 weeks to up to 3 months of funding to go to the US. These are for non-commercial projects, short-term research. And again, this is the focus that is on ICT. And then at the student level, I mentioned the associated award with Florida Polytechnic. This is an opportunity to either undertake a master's degree with a graduate assistantship in one of Florida Polytechnic's STEM programs. This also comes with a stipend per semester for teaching services or as a research assistant, and also provides tuition support. So it is a fabulous opportunity to get to go and study in the US, and well looking at seeing if you could be eligible and if it's right for you. We also have another award with the University of Southern California for a Master's of Science or part of the engineering PhD. Again, this is a partial tuition waiver for the master's level and full financial support at the PhD level. Applicants must be at the master's level postgraduate students with backgrounds in engineering, maths, science, or relevant subject, and PhD applicants must have demonstrated research experience. So again, this is on our website if you want to take a deeper look here, and if you have specific questions on these two for the student awards, you can of course email us. And then mentioned at the both of these student and scholar levels have our sponsored awards from EPA, GSI, and Chagas. So within the STEM sector, you may find that the strategy, your specific research aligns with these organizations and their missions. You're encouraged to look to see if you can make your application under these. The EPA award at the student level is 4 to 12 months, and the scholar is from 3 to 12 months. Again, the same for the GSI award, focusing on geoscience, and the Chagas award in agriculture, food, environment, and forestry for 4 to 12 for students and 3 to 12 months for scholars. And in terms of the actual application for this cycle, the deadline is the 31st of October at 4 p.m. Irish time. You can access the application and the guidelines by registering on our website, and you'll be sent the directions for the application along with the link to apply. It's a global system that's used by the Fulbright program, and our guidelines guide you through step-by-step of how to complete the application form. An overview of those sections would be personal information and your CV, and then a very important section that you include as part of your country-specific materials, your Fulbright statement, also known as a personal statement, where we really want to hear about you as a person and what you bring as a cultural ambassador to this program potentially. You'll also need your project statement, 3 recommendations. So if you are going to apply, we strongly encourage you to fire off those requests for your letters of recommendation, and then a copy of your passport and your letter of affiliation if it's required from your US host. And in terms of finding your US host, this is up to you. If you're going to be going to the all disciplines category, if you find a sponsored award, your host may already be identified. You really want to cultivate relationships with experts in your field, so starting to do that research. And we do welcome diversity in terms of where you may want to go. Perhaps some of the names you might be hearing about institutions in the US come to mind right away. But at the Commission, we definitely encourage a diversity of hosts to try to get as many amazing Irish students, researchers, scholars, professionals out into as many diverse places across the US as we can. You can find potential leads by looking at our alumni on our website. And as well, we always say that reaching out for a Fulbright query is kind of like pushing a warm door open, because the Fulbright name carries so much prestige, especially in the US. It's very well known. If you mention Fulbright in a query email to someone, you have nothing to lose, and most likely they will respond. And ask your colleagues as well. And in terms of preparing your application, again, your rationale for why the US and why Fulbright specifically. And then consider strongly the impact that this will have beyond what you might be doing during those months you're in the US, but the ripple-on effect for why this is an important piece of educational and cultural exchange. And in your Fulbright statement, then, focusing on you specifically as this person who's going over through the medium of education and cultural exchange, tell us about you personally and the benefit that Fulbright will have for you and your community and wider exchange between the US and Ireland, and your personal motivations. Perhaps you'll be doing some interesting things outside of your course in the community, engaging in things you may never have done before. Those are the kinds of things we'd love to hear. And should your application, once you submit it, be reviewed by our panel, at the review stage, we have a larger portion. You can see here in blue, the larger square is representing at review. The academic professional record and project statement carry a larger portion of the weight, and the cultural engagement and leadership then is a little bit smaller. However, then when you're shortlisted for interview, after the technical review of your application, cultural engagement and leadership becomes a much larger piece. And we're more curious to be hearing about you at interview over Zoom. We conduct our interviews. And again, Fulbright welcomes a plethora of different types of folks with all kinds of identities. You can see on our website as well, we have links to different Fulbright communities. You might be interested in looking at alumni or finding out where people are, where they've been, what types of conversations they're having, and any tips and tricks for applications. We also welcome people who are coming from different types of institutions, different types of institutions they may wish to go to. So a real variety, because this is genuinely about people and about exchange between people. And in terms of other resources, besides the affinity Fulbright groups, we have our campus ambassadors across Ireland at different higher educational institutions. And on our website, we have links to all of our webinars and alumni testimonials. We have different events, including all of these webinars, which are going to be recorded and shared, and our social media, which you can check out. And just to finish up, as mentioned, through the Belgian Commission, the Schuman Awards are a fabulous opportunity for EU-US relations that are focused on EU affairs. And again, this could be related to the STEM sector. So do have a look at this. There's the Innovation Awards for the intersection of technology and policy. And the deadline then for the Schuman Awards is the 1st of December, 2024. All other awards are the 31st of October. So do have a look at this at fulbrightschuman.eu if you think that that could be right for you. And just to conclude here, we have a success rate with 90% of awardees that have attended a Fulbright roadshow or webinar. 50% of those who started but did not complete an application didn't engage with any supports. And we always say, and our alumni can attest, that there are no downsides to applying for an award, only your time well spent. Even if you don't get the award in the year that you apply, so many of our alumni have applied again and again sometimes and then gotten their award. And it really is an exercise in talking about yourself as a cultural ambassador, thinking about your place in the world, both as a researcher, professional, and as a person who can interculturally exchange. You're pushing an open door in the US, as we said, when you inquire about Fulbright and collaborating. And here in Ireland and in the US, you would be very welcome into the Fulbright family. So talk to a Fulbrighter. You're going to hear from one today, and you can look on our website. And if you have any questions, I'll pop it in the chat. You can reach us at awards@fulbright.ie. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Robert Conway Kenny, who's from Trinity College, Dublin, and went to the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory on his 2022-23 Fulbright Award. You're very welcome, Robert. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, everyone. Hope you can hear me and see me now. Yeah, all good. Yeah, thank you again to the Fulbright Commission here in Ireland for inviting me to this webinar. I was thinking of my own Fulbright journey. I think in 2015 or 2016, I went to one of these information sessions. I think it was in person at Trinity. And that really started a journey with the Fulbright Commission over time. I was one of those people who applied before, nearly got it, but didn't, but was not dissuaded and applied again sort of maybe 2 years later. And that was because of COVID, and had chosen Los Angeles as my location because there was a number of different research institutes, universities, and then the Jet Propulsion Lab. And I was thinking that I would cast a wide net within that city to start reaching out to different potential mentors and host institutes before settling on the Jet Propulsion Lab. So in my own particular case, what I did was I did want to work for NASA, with NASA. And I had identified the Jet Propulsion Lab as a potential option because unlike a lot of the other NASA locations, you can work there as a foreign national, so you don't have to have a US passport. And so what I did was there is a NASA JPL postdoctoral opportunities website. So I chose different projects that were accepting foreign nationals at the time. And then I could sort of filter that down and see which research groups were typically, taking these sort of contracts on. I reached out to a number of them, and I was successful and worked with a really, really impressive scientist, Pin Chen, who works there at JPL and has done for 20 odd years. My experience took me to Los Angeles last summer in 2023 for 3 months, where I worked on basically a project that was hopefully for Mars in the next maybe decade and a bit, aim to sort of resolutely answer the question of is there methane on Mars, and then why? And that's an interesting question because one of the Martian rovers that JPL built has unequivocally said that there is methane on Mars, but the European Space Agency's Mars orbiter has said there's very much not methane on Mars. So this was an attempt, one of many probably, that will address that question. And so I got to work at the premier space research institute probably anywhere in the world, and that was fully because it was a Fulbright Award. As Sarah was talking there, I was thinking I got told whilst I was there that I believe a piece of paperwork hadn't been completed internally, and when they realized it, I had gone past the deadline for that safety check, and it looked they were preparing to tell me that I was no longer going to be able to come, and someone stepped up and said we can't turn down a Fulbrighter. He has to come, and they made an exception. So that gives you an indication of just how sort of powerful the Fulbright name is. It opened doors that other programs, even good programs in the US, potentially couldn't have. I guess to talk a bit about the impact it's had on my career. So I'm, as Sarah said, there's the 2-year home rule, which might seem scary for some of the applicants, potential applicants. It certainly was to me. 2 years does seem like a long time, but I'm already a year through, and it's really not a problem. So I'm back in Dublin now, and I'm working for a company that is sort of at the forefront of downstream space applications. So that is Earth observation products for climate monitoring within the marine sector, offshore renewable energy technologies, and that job just wouldn't have been open to me without the experience gained at JPL. And again, the sort of the weight that comes with the Fulbright name. This picture that Sarah has posted, this is moments before I was rushed away from taking a photo on federal property, but they let me keep the photo, but I didn't do it again. Here's me with Endeavour, the space shuttle. This was at the California Science and Technology Museum. Special importance because I was born in 1990, and it was either completed or the design started in 1990. So I desperately wanted to see that, and I think it's closed at the moment, but it will reopen. They're putting it upright. And then, so a curious piece of information about the Jet Propulsion Lab. So all deep space spacecraft. So if you think about anything sort of past the moon, and with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 Chinese satellites, they're all controlled or communicated with through JPL. Even most of the Chinese satellites, and Europeans, Japanese, Russians. So the control center at JPL is actually called the center of the universe, because all communications with those deep space spacecraft happens in that one room. So this is me with I think not fully to scale, but close to scale the model of the Voyager 1 spacecraft. You can see the golden disc, the golden record there in the background that was designed for any alien species, if they wanted to know where we were, what we were, and then the instructions to contact us. And then on the right-hand side, that's actually part of the Europa Clipper spacecraft that was actually due to launch in 2 days' time. But I believe there's a hurricane coming close to Florida, or if not already there. And so they've had to bubble wrap it and hide it in a hangar for another week or so. So on the left-hand side, this is me in the Getty Villa. So it's a full, only in Los Angeles, I think, but a fully reconstructed Roman villa from sort of, I don't know the dates, but it was a magnificent piece of architecture, but just really strange, but incredible to see. And there on the right, having grown up with sort of movies about coffee and pie and diners, I sought out the oldest diner in Los Angeles, made my way there by bus, and you can see how happy I am. And then, yes, so just, I guess, to speak about the wider piece to the likes of Fulbright Award, you know, whilst I was there, I was working, you know, Monday through Friday as normal, but my supervisor, my host institute at JPL knew that this was a cultural program. So they were very insistent on the weekends that I really get out and do stuff. And they wanted me to see Los Angeles. They wanted me to really experience what it would be like to live in Los Angeles and not just focus purely on the research I was doing. So that's the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I liked the idea that Kermit the Frog has the most prominent position coming out of the train station. And then one of the days on the shuttle bus to JPL, I saw a cat being rescued from a tree, which I thought only happened in cartoons. And that's the Pasadena Fire Department hard at work. And then just, yeah, again, JPL was insistent that I do as much as I can. So one of the evenings I went to the Hollywood Bowl. That was a sort of a concert that they had sort of recommended through the staff network. And then that's just a nice photo I took as I was approaching Los Angeles downtown one evening. And so what I would really recommend for you to do is when you're picking your host institute or you're picking the location that you're going to go to, make sure that you leave enough time to do as much as you can outside of the lab. You know, Fulbright is not just a program for research and study, it's a cultural exchange, and that's really, really important. I'm trying to think, is there any other points? Sarah, have I covered everything, or would you like me to speak on anything else?
Thank you so much, Robert. That was absolutely excellent. You covered so much. We can see if we have any questions popping in. It was just so great to see the happy smile on you at your birthday, shared birthday spaceship, and cat rescued from a tree is definitely an American classic diner breakfast. So you were ticking all the boxes.
One of the things I had in last year, I had someone contact me as a prospective applicant, and they did ask me what my sort of top tip was, and I just remembered it here. But I did say to them, if you have a project idea and you're considering the Fulbright program, you most likely already tick all the boxes. Smart people apply for these programs, so you can be confident in your scientific project. So what really lets you stand out then is your Fulbright statement or your personal statement. And I think sometimes, we can, when writing about ourselves, we might be underwhelming, and when we write about other people, we can be much more kind. And I just think my absolute top tip is don't leave the personal statement to the end. Start that at the same time, write a few drafts, get people to read it maybe a little bit more harshly than you would want them to, so that you can sort of big yourself up. Because that's really what's going to set you apart from the other applicants.
Definitely. That's a really, really great tip, because it is kind of about how would you present yourself, to a stranger in the US. How can you talk about, something someone might not know, like outer space, for instance, to someone you meet at a bus stop or at the diner over coffee. How would you operate in those circumstances? I can see one question answered through our Q&A. I'll just say it out loud as well about splitting a visit, splitting your award. Say you went for 12 months. Could you split it into different visits over 12 months to facilitate other commitments? At the commission, we don't have what's called flex awards. So the opportunity would be taken up in one block, but personal travel for up to 15 days across your award period can be granted. You'd need to follow the proper steps with contacting the Institute of International Education, our partner on the ground in the US. And then what else? Yeah, just to facilitate as much cultural exchange as possible. Yes, so I think we can probably, if anyone else has any last minute questions, see? Oh, the home rule, we have, what is the 2-year home rule? So that is a J1 visa regulation, and that means that you have to come back to the country that granted your visa to Ireland to be able to have 2 years of residency again in the country before you apply for a different type of immigrant visa to go back to the US. You're still eligible to travel on the non-visa waiver program, go over as you would for a visit or a couple of times throughout the year on the ESTA, but you wouldn't be eligible to apply for another J1, say like right away. You can read more on the US Department of State website, and the US Embassy also would be the final authority on visa questions. Yeah, so Robert, do you have any final remarks you'd like to share?
Just one. Maybe in 2017, I ruled myself out of applying because I said, no, not now. And I, looking with the benefit of time, I wonder now why I did that. So I think if you have any doubts of applying, get rid of them. If you're not in, you can't win. It's not a very tough application. There's a lot of guidance out there. There's a lot of help. The project statement, I think, project statement and the Fulbright statement are relatively short. So make a really good go of it. You have another 3 weeks. So yeah, put that application in.
Thank you for those encouraging words. Yes, you can still register on our website to get emailed the guidelines and the link to apply. You can contact your Fulbright ambassador if you're coming from a university or college in Ireland. And we here at the Commission are available at awards@fulbright.ie. The deadline is the 31st of October for this round. And if you don't make it in time, do research the opportunities and start preparing. The time is now or will be very soon in the future for you. So thank you so much, Robert, for joining us today. And thank you everyone for tuning in. I won't belabor. If there's more questions, get in touch with us and we hope to see you soon. Thank you all.